So yesterday I spoke about Anthony Joshua's victory, but today I want to add some further perspective. So my first question is, what went wrong in the first round? I think here's an important point. Now, when Anthony Joshua fights, his head positioning is important because his head is either at the center or over his front foot. Now, why is this important? It's important because it means that the trajectory of his opponent's punches from the punch to his head has a shorter distance. So there's a shorter distance to travel when your head is either at the center or over the front foot. Let me give a comparison to make the point. Evander Holyfield, the great Evander Holyfield, who was the undisputed cruiserweight champion and the undisputed heavyweight champion, he mainly would fight with his head over his back foot, which is a more stable position. But also that means the trajectory of the punches from his opponent is longer, which means in theory he has more time to see the punches. So I think Anthony Joshua's head position in the center and over the front foot has a shorter trajectory for the punches. Now it goes both ways. It means his punches travel faster, but also his opponent's punches travel faster as well. And I think that head positioning, I think that's important to understand, because is it optimal for AJ to have his head either at the center or over the front foot? That is the question. Also, let's look at the knockdown. So the first knockdown from Prenga, I believe it started with an overhand right from long range. And then Prenga quickly moved into range, and while in the pocket, he throws a quick right uppercut. And that's the first knockdown. Now, in fairness, Joshua got up, showing courage, and I don't think anyone, so probably not Anthony Joshua, probably his team, would have foreseen Prenga's early aggression. So there was the element of surprise. I think most people expected Prenga to box, to use the ring. And the second knockdown, I believe the second knockdown was a left uppercut. It was a beautiful punch. And I suspect that AJ and his team didn't expect Prenga to have that type of technical refinement. In this round, Prenga was punching with vicious intentions. So moving into the second round, and this was very impressive from AJ because he had one of the worst rounds of his whole career. But as soon as the second round started, he aimed to take control and aimed to take a dominant position. And I think that says a lot about his psychology. He stepped to the right. So by stepping to the right, he created a different angle, trying to take away his opponent's right hand. And he introduced his jab, because he didn't introduce the jab in the first round. And once he established the jab, the fight started to change subtly. The 1-2 from Joshua was hard, it was fast, and it established distance. But also, I think there was like 2 or 3 1-2s that Joshua threw, and I feel that Prenga was starting to feel the power of Joshua. And let's remember, Joshua is a hard puncher. And I think the psychology of the fight started to shift in that moment. Also, there was a significant moment where Prenga looked to his corner. I'm assuming it was his corner. And I think that was a symbol of doubt, because he would have been looking for either instruction or encouragement or both. And then there was the finish, which was a phased attack. Anthony Joshua went through 3 phases. The first phase was a 1-2. The second phase was another 1-2. And then I believe the third phase was a 3-punch combination. What does this show? Number one, it shows his ability to throw punches in phases, which is good. This is something that Usyk does. And number two, it showed that AJ still has the power and the ability to finish. Early in his career, AJ was known for finishing fights, and AJ rediscovered that viciousness in this fight. And let's briefly talk about Prenga. Apparently, Eddie Hearn has signed him after that performance. I think we can safely say that Prenga has made a positive impression. He really took the bull by the horns. He went for it. He was audacious. He was bold. and he had a moment and he nearly caused a massive upset. There could be an interesting future for him. Now, Prenga has power. He's shown he has power, but more importantly, he has shown the ability to land that power. Now, next, let's talk about the post-fight interview. And it was an interesting interview. AJ showed respect. He acknowledged Prenga's power. He gave a reference to Mike Tyson's infamous speech, which was nice. He said his win was more than just power, because the interviewer was stating that his punch power was significant, but Anthony Joshua corrected him and said that this was more than that. It was spirit. And he talked about, the higher power. AJ talked about purpose. And it's quite clear to me that, this was a very intense interview. This was an interview where AJ was getting emotional. And interestingly, when the topic of Tyson Fury came up, he showed a lot of respect. There was a particular point where AJ became very quiet. And this was an emotional reaction when he was reflecting on that horrible tragedy that he experienced. And of course, RIP and condolences to the family. And it was an interview that had many different phases, many different chapters, because you had AJ start off jovial, then he became relatively very emotional, and then he went back to being jovial. And I feel now that AJ's post-fight interviews are becoming significant events. So now let's move on into the Tyson Fury fight, the potential Tyson Fury fight. And because AJ won, because he showed recuperative powers, the Tyson Fury fight is still alive. And as I've stated previously, both boxers, they look vulnerable. Tyson Fury had glimpses of brilliance, and AJ has shown recuperative powers. Now, Tyson Fury has shown recuperative powers historically, particularly against Deontay Wilder in that first fight. That was amazing. But AJ has now shown recuperative powers because he was in serious trouble in that first fight. Both boxers, Tyson Fury historically and AJ currently, have shown spiritual strength. And I think we can safely say that all men are mortal, but Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, they are more mortal today than they were 5-10 years ago, meaning that I think that both are separated from their primes. Perhaps they might be separated from operating at the elite level. Maybe, maybe not. Perhaps time will tell. If I'm Fury, I would possibly feel like I could dominate AJ with the jab and have a lot of success in the pocket, particularly with the uppercut. But if you're AJ, you will believe that your viciousness will make a considerable difference. I think even though both have shown vulnerabilities, this still has the potential of being a great fight. Because sometimes when boxers start to show weaknesses, that can make an event even more exciting. Okay, so I'm going to finish this video with 7 questions. So question number 1. Did AJ's front foot position cause both first round knockdowns? I wouldn't say the front foot position caused the knockdowns, but I think AJ's head positioning is important to look at. Is he more optimal on the center position, the front foot position, or on the back foot position, or should he do a combination of all 3? Lennox Lewis, for example, used to do a combination of all 3, but it's important to look at that. Is that compromising his defense? Question number 2, was Prenga's early success simply an element of surprise? I think element of surprise was part of the success, but also it's his audacity, it's his eagerness to engage in battle. He should be given a lot of credit for not being overawed by the occasion. Question number 3, did AJ's jab completely change the fight in the second round? I think the jab was an important part of the story in the second round because it established distance, and I think it got Prenga's attention. It set up the backhand, so it set up the 1-2, but it also set up the combination that ended the fight. Question number 4, was Prenga looking to his corner the first sign he was losing belief? I think it was a subtle sign. So I think he still believed in himself, but I think that as the fight was getting hard, and because he doesn't have experience of fighting at this elite level and in this type of situation, he was probably just looking for some type of encouragement, which is understanding. So I think there's a difference between losing belief and looking for encouragement. Question number 5, did AJ's post-fight interview reveal more about his mindset than his performance? I think it definitely revealed some spiritual elements that were definitely interesting. And like I said, it seems that AJ's post-fight interviews are epic moments. They really are. Question number 6, has Prenga done enough to prove he belongs at world level? Not sure about that. He's shown that he has power. He's shown that he can land that power. And he's shown that he may be a significant force. Of course, there will be some questions about Prenga's, not necessarily questions about his punch resistance, but definitely questions with regards to adaptation and further improving his boxing IQ, because he had AJ in huge trouble in that first round. So I don't know if we can objectively say he belongs at world level, but there's definitely some implications. And finally, question 7. After this fight, who should feel more confident about an AJ versus Tyson Fury showdown? That is such a hard question to answer. I think both will feel confident. I'm not sure who will feel more confident. AJ will be confident in his recuperative powers. He'll be confident in his power. He may have some doubts with regards to his punch durability, but not his heart and his ability to come back. I think Tyson Fury will have confidence in his ability, confidence in his identity, confidence that he can beat AJ, and confidence that he can do it in a dominant way. I think they both will have confidence, and I'm not sure it's possible to weigh who will have more confidence. They will both go into the fight confident because they will both see each other's weaknesses. So that's the end of the video. Now I'm trying to build a digital boxing community, and that means I'm interested in your thoughts, I'm interested in your perspectives, and I'm interested in your observations. Now, if you want to support the channel, press like, hype, and subscribe. And if you want to watch more content like this, then simply click here or click here. As always, thanks for your time. It is much appreciated.